Good evening. The House of Representatives impeaches Vice President Sara Duterte with more than 200 lawmakers endorsing a fourth impeachment complaint. For the details, Gabriel Lalu is reporting live from the House of Representatives. Gab?
Yes, Neil. Vice President Sara Duterte has been impeached by the House of Representatives after 215 lawmakers signed and endorsed a fourth complaint. During the session on Wednesday, House Majority Floor Leader Manuel Jose Delipe moved to take up additional business for the day and asked House Secretary General Reginald Velasco to read the fourth impeachment complaint against Duterte. Velasco then announced that 215 lawmakers were before him, signing and endorsing the complaint. Delipe then asked Velasco how many members there are in the House and how much of it is one-third. In response, Velasco said that there are 306 members and one-third of that is 102. After this, Delipe moved that the complaints be forwarded to the Senate after the conditions were fulfilled. House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez approved the motion, tasking the Secretary General to transmit the impeachment complaint. There were 7 grounds for impeachment cited against Duterte. First, betrayal of public trust for her threats to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and Speaker Romualdez. Second, malversation of public funds due to the confidential fund misuse with OVP and DepEd. Third, graft due to bribery and corruption in DepEd. Fourth, unexplained wealth and non-disclosure of assets. Fifth, commission of high crimes due to her involvement in extrajudicial killings. Sixth, accusations that she is involved in acts to destabilize the government and causing public disorder. And seventh, betrayal of public trust due to the totality of Duterte's unbecoming conduct as Vice President. Duterte's brother, Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte, however, believes that the impeachment proceedings are merely a form of political persecution. Representative Duterte also warned that it may be dangerous for the Marcos administration to believe that they can push with the impeachment of her sister. Under the 1987 Constitution, all impeachment complaints must be filed before the House. There are 2 ways for an impeachment complaint to move forward. Under Article 11, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution, a verified complaint can be discussed after the House Secretary General forwards it to the House Speaker. A vote of at least one-third of all House members will then ensure that the complaint would be forwarded to the Senate. But the Constitution also allows a quicker method, where endorsement from one-third of all House members would allow the immediate convening of a Senate trial, skipping the discussions of the House Committee on Rules and the Committee on Justice.
Gab, pinapanood ko ngayon itong parang naging reaksyon ng mga mambabatas natin dyan sa Kongreso matapos yung naging impeachment kay Vice President Sara Duterte. May mga applauses at may pailan-ilan pang lawmakers, may standing ovation matapos impeach ng House of Representatives itong si VP Duterte. Let's talk about what will happen next, Gab. We know na na-transmit na dito sa Senado yung impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. Ano yung magiging role ngayon ng House of Representatives pag nagsimula na yung impeachment trial?
Bale, bilang ang House ay tinanggap nila ang impeachment complaint na ito at kinatigan nila yung impeachment complaint, magkakaroon ng prosecution team galing sa House. Mga kongresista na bubuo ng prosecution team na ipipresenta yung kaso nila sa Senado na magiging isang mag-act as an impeachment court. So kanina, binanggit din ni Majority Leader Delipe kung sino-sino yung mga lawmakers o kongresista na magiging parte ng prosecution. Andun si Representative Jervil Ruisto, Romeo Acop, Rog Gutierrez, Joel Chua, Raul Bangolon, Loreto Atcharon, Marcelino Libanan, yung minority leader natin, Arnan Panaligan, Isabel Maria Zamora, Lawrence Defensor, and Jonathan Kit Flores.
Gab, let's explain nga itong konsepto ng pagkakaroon ng prosecution team kapag nagsimula na yung impeachment trial. Kung ikukumpara natin to sa normal trials, nakikita natin sa mga korte, paano yung magiging itsura noon?
Bali, yung impeachment complaint kasi parang kaso pa lang to. Pag nag-file ka na impeachment complaint, para ka nagsampa ng kaso sa prosecution. Ngayon, ang prosecution dito yung House. titignan nila kung meron bang probable cause o merong basehan yung impeachment complaint para dalhin sa Senado na magiging korte. So, kapag na-impeach ang isang presidente, vice president, Supreme Court Justice, hindi pa ibig sabihin nito na matatanggal sila sa pwesto dahil kinatigan lang ng House yung nagsampa ng kaso. In this case, yung mga kongresista. So, impeach na si Vice President Sara Duterte pero hindi pa siya convicted dahil yung conviction ang magdedesisyon nun yung Senado na magiging Senate impeachment, magiging isang impeachment court.
So kumbaga, ang magiging role dito ng mga House prosecutors na binanggit mo, sila yung ngayon yung magde-defend kung bakit dapat, or sila yung ngayon yung mag-explain kung bakit dapat impeach si Vice President Duterte. Tama ba yun, Gab?
Tama. Sila yung magpapaliwanag kung bakit dapat mahatulan si Vice President Sara Duterte na bakit siya kailangan matanggal sa pwesto. Tandaan natin yung impeachment, hindi siya formal na kaso sa korte. Pagtanggal lang talaga siya sa pwesto ng isang opisyal mataas na opisyal ng gobyerno. So, yung impeachment, yung mga kongresista, sila yung magsasabi kung bakit kailangan ma-impeach ni Vice President Duterte. Tapos, meron namang karapatan si Vice President Duterte na pumili ng kanyang abogado na magiging parte ng defense counsel niya.
At yung mga senador in this case, sila yung kumbaga magiging judge na magde-decide kung talaga bang tatanggalin sa pwesto si Vice President Duterte. Tama ba yun, Gab?
Tama. Kung maalala natin, ang pinakahuling impeachment proceedings na kung saan meron na nagot, yung impeachment ni former Chief Justice Renato Corona noong 2011 na kung saan yung mga senador doon nag-akto as nag-participate sila as mga judges. Sila yung humatol, sila yung nagbotohan sa dulo kung dapat bang matanggal sa pwesto si former Chief Justice Renato Corona.
Okay, maraming salamat, Gab. That's Gabriel Lalu reporting live from the House. With the House of Representatives impeaching Vice President Sara Duterte, the ball is now on the court of the Senate. Let's check the situation there. Our Chari Abarca is reporting live from the Senate. Chari, what are the developments so far there regarding the Vice President's impeachment?
Neil, from the House of Representatives, the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte have reached the Senate. Senate Secretary Renato Bantug received the document from House Secretary General Reginald Velasco past 5 o'clock in the afternoon today here in the Senate. Right now, Neil, some senators are keeping their mouths shut regarding the recent development. But prior to transmittal, Senator Joel Villanueva already walked the media through the process on what would happen after the document was transmitted to the Senate. Being today is the last day of session in Congress, Villanueva said the verified impeachment complaint needs to be included in today's reference of business. He said it needs to be read in the plenary, then endorsed it to the right committee. Or otherwise, if it doesn't get endorsed in the plenary or no special sessions were announced, then it will be tackled once the Senate resumes its session in June. Earlier, Neil, senators were told by Senate President Cheese Escudero not to make any public comments in relation to the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte, saying that the upper chamber stands ready to fulfill its mandate with integrity and impartiality should the case push through. Back to you, Neil.
Chari, ngayon nga, sinasabi natin doon kanina, and you heard yung report ni Gab, no? Kumbaga yung bola ngayon nasa Senado na. Meron ba tayong timeline na tinitingnan ngayon kung kailan magsisimula itong impeachment trials laban kay VP Duterte, gaano katagal itong magiging impeachment trials and so on?
Neil, as we all know, ito yung kauna-unahang beses na nagkaroon ng impeachment laban sa ikalawang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. So, there's really no clear timetable on how long this would last. Pero to provide context, Neil, yung kagaya ng nabanggit ni Gab kanina is yung latest and last na impeachment proceedings na naganap is yung laban kay former Chief Justice Renato Corona. And Neil, it transpired on December 12, 2011 and it ended on May 9, 2012. So more or less 6 months, Neil.
If we're looking at 6 months, Chari, no, hindi mahirap iwasan yung paparating na midterm elections natin. Do we see kung paano maka-apekto into impeachment trials dito sa darating na midterm elections?
Neil, nauna nang sinabi ni Senate President Cheese Escudero na hindi makaka-apekto itong impeachment kung mag-push through man sa darating na midterm polls. Pero Neil, kaugnay nito, nagpahayag na rin si Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa sa recent development na ito, and aniya unfair daw yung timing, and tinawag niya ngang anya unfair daw yung ginawa ng counterpart nila sa House of Representatives, and in his own terms ang sinabi niya ay naging hostage daw ang 23 senador, kabilang na yung mga re-electionists, which is kasama siya, na magsisilbing jury sa nasabing impeachment. Kasi Neil, once na nag-start itong impeachment proceedings, hindi sila makakapagkampanya, and maaaring maapektuhan nun yung mga botong matatanggap nila sa darating na midterm polls.
Chari, I understand na sa report mo, you mentioned that the senators were ordered by Senate President Jesus Escudero not to make any comments regarding the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. No? But in your coverage so far of this impeachment, the push to impeach Vice President Duterte, ano sa tingin mo yung magiging movement dyan sa Senado pagdating sa issue na ito?
Neil, tama ka, no? Nagsabi na si Senate President Jesus Escudero na huwag magbigay ng any public comment regarding dito sa impeachment dahil tatayo nga silang jury once na mag-convene as court itong Senado. Once na magtuloy itong impeachment proceeding laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero nauna na, Neil, na nabanggit ni Senator Amy Marcos, ni Senator Padilla, at Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa mismo na pipigilan nila hanggat maaari ang itong impeachment laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero Neil, to note, nangyari ito bago ito makapagsabi si Senate President Jesus Escudero na huwag munang magbigay ng any public comment regarding this development.
And for context, Chari, no, please correct me if I'm wrong, 2/3 ang kinakailangang boto dyan sa Senado to remove Vice President Sara Duterte from office. Tama ba yun?
Yes, Neil, you're correct.
Okay, maraming salamat, Chari. That's Chari Barca reporting live from the Senate. The impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte is merely a political persecution, according to her brother, Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte. In a statement on Wednesday, February 5, Representative Duterte said he is appalled and enraged by what he describes as desperate and politically motivated efforts to railroad the impeachment of the Vice President. Representative Duterte claims certain lawmakers, supposedly led by Iloilo 1st District Representative Janet Garin, moved to hastily collect signatures for the impeachment complaint is an act of political persecution. Representative Duterte also warns President Bongbong Marcos' administration that it may be dangerous for them to believe that it can push through with the impeachment of his sister. According to the lawmaker, the issue is not just about the Vice President, but also about the will of the Filipino people and their growing discontent. Representative Duterte then emphasizes that the supposed reckless abuse of power will not end in the favor of the Marcos administration. The House of Representatives impeached the Vice President after 215 lawmakers endorsed a fourth complaint. Under the Constitution, an endorsement from 1/3 of all House members will allow the immediate convening of a Senate trial. 1/3 of the total current House members is at 102. If 2/3 of Senate members vote to convict an impeachable official as outlined in the articles of impeachment, he or she will be removed from office. Drivers of four-wheeled vehicles in Metro Manila may eventually have to pay a fee to use Edsa, according to Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla. In a radio interview on Wednesday, February 5, Remulla says the government is studying the use of a metering system through artificial intelligence. According to Remulla, the metering system would help encourage vehicle owners to try public transportation. The metering system would also make the use of Edsa a privilege, as Remulla notes motorists would have to pay to use the road. He notes that 17% of the people use 80% of the roads in Metro Manila. However, the Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary stresses that this situation will only be put in place once the comprehensive traffic management plan for EDSA could be fully implemented. Remulla clarifies that public transportation should first be prioritized and made efficient, reliable, and comfortable. President Bongbong Marcos led a meeting on Tuesday, February 4 that tackled the comprehensive traffic management plan for Metro Manila and nearby provinces. Motorists in Metro Manila may see the eventual phase-out of the EDSA bus lane, according to Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla. Over a radio interview on Wednesday, February 5, Remulla shares the long-term plan to phase out the Edsa bus lane was discussed in a meeting with President Bongbong Marcos about the comprehensive traffic management plan for Metro Manila and nearby provinces. Remulla says the phase-out of the Edsa bus lane is in line with the MRT3's projected capacity increase as more wagons will be added. According to Remulla, the MRT's daily capacity is expected to increase from 300,000 passengers to 800,000 passengers within this year. Another possible change Remulla reveals is the modified bike lane, which may become a shared space with motorcycles. According to Remulla, this arrangement would prevent accidents as he notes that 70% of motorcycle crashes in Metro Manila involve motorcycles trying to avoid traffic congestion. In the same interview, Remulla also reveals the possibility of car owners eventually paying fees to use Edsa to encourage the use of public transportation, particularly the MRT. The rehabilitation of Epifanio de los Santos Avenue or Edsa is set to begin in March, starting with the southbound lanes, according to the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. In a palace briefing on Wednesday, February 5, MMDA Chairman Don Artes says the Department of Public Works and Highways is finalizing the project's timetable and traffic management plan. According to Artes, the goal is to complete the rehabilitation in time for the Philippines hosting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in 2026. Artes also says the project might face challenges due to simultaneous drainage system improvements on EDSA. He notes that previous road projects encountered delays due to existing utility lines.
Niraise lamang po natin yung concern na since yung drainage po ay nasa outer lane, marami pong utilities dyan eh. And based on our experience, kahit po mag-walk through, mag-mark, minsan po yung as-built plan, hindi nasusunod eh, ng mga telcos, ng water utilities na during construction may tinatamaang linya na nagpapabagal po.
To minimize disruptions, the MMDA says it identified key areas with limited alternate routes. Artes cites the Kamuning flyover closure as an example where efficient traffic management prevented severe congestion. Artes mentions that a proposed out-of-the-box solution was discussed with President Bongbong Marcos, but details remain undisclosed pending further review. The MMDA chief expresses optimism that once the EDSA rehabilitation is completed, traffic will improve.
Magpapabilis po yan ng daloy ng traffic. Kasi kung makikita naman natin, dumadaan naman siguro tayo araw-araw ng EDSA, maraming portions dyan ang lubak-lubak pa dahil nasisira na, napakatagal na po rin kasi ng EDSA. So, pag nagawa po ito, lalagyan ng magandang asfalto, mas bibilis po yung daloy ng mga sasakyan. So, hopefully, it will improve yung traffic situation sa EDSA once the rehabilitation ay makumpleto.
Rodante Marcoleta's dismissive claims about the West Philippine Sea. In a message to INQUIRER.net on Wednesday, February 5, security expert Chester Cabalza counters that the West Philippine Sea is real and existing and not a figment of our imagination. Cabalza emphasizes that West Philippine Sea forms part of the country's national sovereignty in the exercise of our sovereign rights. During a House Tri-Committee hearing on the prevalence of fake news on Tuesday, February 4, Marcoleta claimed that there is no such thing as the West Philippine Sea, even in the country's maps. For the sake of Marcoleta's argument, historian Xiao Chua points out it can also be said that the Philippines itself does not exist because the nation is just an imagined community invented by the writings and ideas of our heroes. However, he emphasizes that the Philippines does exist, and so does the country's exclusive economic zone. According to Cabalza, the West Philippine Sea was legally constructed in 2012 to show the international community the bounds of the Philippines' maritime domains and territories. In 2012, President Noynoy Aquino signed an administrative order renaming South China Sea waters within the western section of the country's exclusive economic zone as the West Philippine Sea. Aquino also directed the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority to produce and publish charts and maps of the Philippines showing the West Philippine Sea. It was also in 2012 when Manila brought Beijing before the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague to contest the Asian superpower's sweeping claims in the South China Sea. The International Tribunal's ruling in July 2016 effectively invalidated China's then 9-line claim, now the 10-line. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.